They say, some debts are paid in money and some in blood. I thought my boss was my savior. He paid for my father's surgery when no one else would. I felt like I owed him my life. But then came that night. The office was empty, the lights were dim, and his smile, it wasn't kind anymore. It was hungry. That night, he did something I never imagined in my worst nightmares. And suddenly, I realized the price of his kindness was my soul. I learned the sound of hospital machines before. I learned how to breathe properly again. They beeped in patterns I began to recognize. Long, short, pause, like a language I never wanted to understand. The ICU smelled of disinfectant and metal, sharp enough to sting the back of my throat. Every time I walked in, my chest tightened, as if my body already knew what my eyes were trying not to see. My father lay there, smaller than I remembered. His hands, once rough and steady from years of work, looked thin, almost fragile, veins like blue cracks under pale skin. When I held them, they were cold. Not dead cold, just distant, as if he was already halfway somewhere I couldn't follow. I was 23 years old, and suddenly the world felt too heavy for my spine. At night, I didn't sleep. I sat on the edge of my bed, phone in my hand, refreshing messages from the hospital, from debt collectors, from numbers I didn't recognize but already feared. The landlord had stopped being polite. His voice messages came sharp now, clipped, reminding me that sympathy didn't pay rent. 7 days, he said once. After that, I can't help you. I cried quietly so my mother wouldn't hear. My tears soaked into the pillow, hot and endless, until my head ached and my throat burned. Sometimes, I pressed my face into the mattress just to muffle the sound of my own breaking. I prayed the way desperate people do, without poetry, without grace. Please, just one chance. One door, I'll do anything. And then, on a Tuesday morning that felt exactly like every other hopeless morning, my phone rang. Unknown number. I almost ignored it. Hello? My voice cracked, dry from crying. Is this Emma Daniel? The woman asked, professional and calm. Yes. This is Vortex Enterprises. We're calling regarding your interview. My heart stumbled. Vortex Enterprises. The glass tower. The company people whispered about with a mix of awe and envy. I didn't think... I swallowed. I mean, yes. Yes, I remember. We're pleased to inform you that you've been selected for the position of personal assistant to the CEO. The words didn't land all at once. They fell slowly, like snow, quiet and unreal. She continued, listing numbers, salary figures that made my head spin, benefits that sounded like fiction, an advance mentioned so casually I thought I misheard. I sank onto the chair beside my father's bed, my knees suddenly weak. Are you sure? I whispered. There was a pause, a soft smile I could hear through the phone. Congratulations, Emma. When I hung up, my hands were shaking. I laughed and cried at the same time, covering my mouth, terrified I'd wake my father. My prayers, they had been heard, or so I thought. That night, for the first time in weeks, I slept. The Vortex building rose into the sky like a promise, all glass and steel, reflecting the sun so brightly it hurt to look at. The lobby smelled of polished marble and expensive perfume. Every step echoed sharp and deliberate, as if the building itself demanded confidence. I felt small walking in, adjusting my modest blazer, my palms damp with nerves. But beneath the fear was gratitude. Thick, overwhelming gratitude. This job wasn't just work. It was survival. It was my father's medicine, my mother's safety, our home. They led me upstairs, higher, higher. The doors opened into a quiet floor where the air felt cooler, thinner. Mr. Alex will see you now, the receptionist said. I took a breath and walked in. He was standing by the window when I entered. The city spread behind him like something he owned, tall, impeccably dressed. His presence filled the room before he even turned around. When he did, I forgot to breathe. Mr. Alex wasn't just handsome. He was disarming. The kind of man magazines loved to photograph. Calm eyes, easy smile, the confidence of someone who had never been told no. Emma, he said warmly, as if we were old friends. I'm glad you're here. He shook my hand. His grip was firm, reassuring. I told myself my racing heart was just nerves. We spoke about work, expectations, confidentiality. He listened intently, nodding, occasionally smiling in a way that made me feel seen. Then he asked about my family. I hesitated. People rarely ask that, not genuinely. "My father is ill," I said softly. Something shifted in his eyes. Sympathy. Or something like it. "I'm sorry," he said. "That's hard, especially at your age." He reached into a drawer and slid an envelope across the desk. "Your advance," he said casually. "I had HR process it early." I opened it with trembling fingers. The amount made my vision blur. "This should help with the hospital bills," he added gently. I stood up too fast, my chair scraping loudly behind me. "Sir, I don't know how to thank you." He waved it off. "Work hard. That's enough." Gratitude flooded me so completely I didn't notice the way his eyes lingered. I didn't notice the way the room suddenly felt warmer. All I felt was relief. The first week passed in a blur. Meetings, calls, schedules. I learned fast. I stayed late. I smiled through exhaustion. Every night I visited my father with better news. Paid another bill, pushed disaster a little further away. The office was beautiful. Walls of glass. Endless light. But as days passed, the transparency began to feel exposing. Like there was nowhere to hide. Mr. Alex complimented my work often. "You're different," he said once. "Not like the others." I should have asked what that meant. He began asking personal questions. Light at first. "Do you live alone? Do you have a boyfriend? You look tired. Are you sleeping enough?" I told myself he cared. When he asked me to stay late, I didn't hesitate. "Just one more thing," he'd say. "Only you can handle this." One evening, as he handed me a file, his fingers brushed mine. I froze. It was brief. Accidental, maybe, but his hand stayed there a second longer than necessary. My stomach tightened. "I'm sorry," he said smoothly. "Didn't mean to startle you." I laughed nervously. "It's okay." Gratitude silenced the warning screaming inside my chest. How could someone who helped my family mean harm? Still, the building felt different at night. The lights dimmed. The echoes grew louder. The glass reflected my own face back at me, pale, tired, unsure. One night, close to midnight, I sat across from him in his office. Rain streaked the windows, blurring the city into distorted shapes. He leaned back in his chair, watching me. "You know," he said slowly, "you trust me, don't you?" The question landed wrong. "Yes," I said automatically. He smiled. The room felt colder. For the first time since I joined Vortex, a chill crawled up my spine, and I realized, with a quiet, sinking dread, that the door behind me had already closed. There was a time when I thought silence meant peace. Now I know better. Silence can be engineered. It started with small things. So small I didn't notice them as traps. Alex never raised his voice, never threatened. He smiled, he spoke gently. That was the worst part. "You don't need them," he said one afternoon, standing beside my desk. People here talk. They envy competence, especially when it comes from someone young and talented. I looked up at him, confused. "Them?" "The others," he said casually. "Your coworkers." I followed his gaze across the glass floor. I could see them, laughing near the coffee machine, sharing inside jokes, glancing my way occasionally. For a moment I felt exposed, like a stain on white marble. "They don't like you," Alex continued softly. "I've seen it before. They'll smile, then poison your reputation behind your back." My chest tightened. I didn't know. "That's because you're pure," he said. "You trust too easily." The word pure made my skin crawl, though I didn't know why. "Just focus on your work," he added. "Talk to me if you need anything. I'm here for you." From that day on, conversations stopped finding me. Lunch breaks became lonely. When I walked into the pantry, voices lowered. Someone once invited me to sit, then hesitated, glanced toward Alex's office, and awkwardly changed their mind. I told myself it was my imagination. Alex became my only constant. He called me into his office multiple times a day, asked how I was feeling, whether I'd eaten, whether I was stressed. "You're working too hard," he said, handing me a cup of coffee one evening. "I worry about you." I should have felt cared for. Instead, I felt owned. The staring began next. Not obvious, not crude, just long enough to make me aware of my own body. Once, during a meeting, I caught his eyes lingering on my lips as I spoke. My voice faltered. My throat dried. When I finished, he smiled. "Emma," he said lightly, "you seem distracted lately." I flushed. "I'm sorry." "What for?" he asked, amused. "You're doing great." Another time, as I stood beside his desk reviewing documents, he said. "You've lost weight." I froze. Have I? He nodded slowly. "Stress doesn't suit you. You should take better care of yourself." The way he said it felt intimate. Too intimate. That night I replayed his words over and over. My chest felt tight, like the air around me was thinning. The next day, when he stood too close enough that I could smell his cologne, sharp and expensive, I took a step back. He noticed. His smile didn't fade, but something hardened behind it. "Are you uncomfortable?" he asked. I hesitated. No, He laughed softly. "Emma, you're imagining things." My stomach dropped. "I'm like an elder brother to you," he continued gently. "How could you even think otherwise?" Shame flooded me, hot and suffocating. "I'm sorry," I whispered. "For what?" he said, tilting his head. "For having a mind that plays tricks on you?" I nodded. Gaslighting doesn't feel like manipulation when it's happening. It feels like self-betrayal. The hospital bills arrived every week. Thick envelopes, red stamps, numbers that made my hands shake. Alex never raised the topic directly. He didn't need to. He just mentioned things. "How's your father today?" "I spoke to the finance team. We extended your benefits. Treatment like that is expensive." One evening, as I packed my bag, he said casually, "If you ever think of leaving, well, I worry. Who would take care of everything then?" My breath caught. "I'm not leaving," I said quickly. He smiled. "Good." I felt like a dog praised for obedience. At home, I stared at my reflection in the mirror. I was dressed well now. Better than before. Expensive fabric against my skin. A golden dress. But I couldn't breathe inside it. The office at night was a different creature. During the day, it was light and glass and movement. At night, it became hollow. Footsteps echoed too loudly. Shadows stretched along the walls. The hum of electricity felt like a whisper crawling under my skin. Rain tapped against the glass like fingers. I stayed late often, Alex insisted. "Productivity thrives in quiet," he said. One night, it was just us. The city outside was blurred by rain, neon lights bleeding into the dark. His office lights were dimmed, too dim. "Come here," he said, pointing to the screen. I stepped closer. Too close. He leaned in behind me, pretending to read over my shoulder. His hand touched my shoulder lightly, deliberately. I froze. He leaned closer. I could feel his breath near my hair. "You use a different shampoo," he murmured. "Lavender?" My heart slammed against my ribs. This wasn't professional. This wasn't accidental. Every instinct screamed, "Run!" But my father's face flashed in my mind. The machines. The bills. My mother's tired eyes. I stayed still. "Relax," Alex whispered. "You're safe with me." Safe. The word felt like a lie pressed into my ear. When he finally stepped away, my legs were shaking. I locked myself in the bathroom afterward and pressed my palms to my face, trying to breathe. Did that really happen? Or am I imagining things again? The doubt was the worst part. I began to feel watched. Cameras were everywhere, or maybe nowhere. Every time I moved, I felt eyes on me. The glass walls reflected me endlessly, fractured versions of myself staring back. I stopped wearing bright colors. I stopped smiling. I stopped trusting my own thoughts. Alex noticed everything. "You've changed," he said one morning. I preferred the old Emma. "I'm just tired," I replied. "Tired people make mistakes," he said gently. "You don't want that." The suffocation became constant, like invisible hands around my throat. On Friday evening, as I gathered my things, Alex spoke. "This weekend," he said, "we have a private meeting." My fingers tightened around my bag. "Where?" I asked. He smiled slowly. "My farmhouse," he said. "No distractions, just us. Important matters to discuss." My heart began to pound so loudly I was sure he could hear it. "I thought weekends—" "You'll come," he said calmly. "Not a question. It's necessary." The room felt smaller, the air heavier. As I nodded, my body screamed in terror. And for the first time, I understood. The cage wasn't around me. It was inside me. The road disappeared faster than my phone signal. Concrete gave way to gravel. Streetlights vanished. Trees closed in from both sides like silent witnesses that had already decided not to interfere. Alex drove calmly, one hand on the wheel, the other resting casually on the armrest, humming softly, as if this were a picnic, not the moment my life tilted toward something irreversible. I watched the city fade in the rearview mirror. That's when it hit me. No taxis, no people, No noise except the engine and my own heartbeat. This is wrong. I swallowed. Where exactly are we going? Alex didn't look at me. Relax, he said. You worry too much. The farmhouse appeared suddenly, isolated, modern, surrounded by land that stretched too far in every direction. No neighboring houses, no lights, just darkness pressing in from all sides. My chest tightened. When the car stopped, the silence was deafening. Even the air felt heavier here, thick, unmoving. Come, he said, stepping out. I didn't move. Emma, his voice hardened slightly. Don't make this difficult. The moment I stepped out of the car, I knew. This wasn't a meeting. This was a cage with no walls. Inside, the house was immaculate. Too clean, too empty, the kind of place designed to echo. My footsteps sounded loud, intrusive, as if I didn't belong here. Alex locked the door. The click was soft. Final. My skin prickled. Why did you lock it? I asked, my voice barely holding together. He turned slowly, and that's when the mask slipped. Not dramatically, not violently, just gone. His smile vanished, replaced by something colder, calculating. A look I had never seen before, or maybe had, and refused to name. You're safe, he said flatly. Stop pretending you're fragile. My stomach dropped. I want to go home, I said. Alex laughed. Not amused, not kind. I paid for your home, he said. I paid for your father's heartbeats. Do you really think you get to leave? The words hit me like physical blows. I bought you, he continued calmly, stepping closer. The day I signed those hospital checks, you became mine. My vision blurred. No, I whispered. That's not... You're wearing the dress I paid for, he interrupted. Living in the house I saved. Working in the job I gave you. Don't insult my intelligence by pretending you're not aware. I stepped back. The room felt smaller, the walls closer, the ceiling lower. I trusted you, I said, my voice shaking. You said you were like... Don't say brother, he snapped. The word shattered something in him, and then he moved. Not rushed, not aggressive, certain. He came close, too close. His presence filled my senses. His cologne, once just unpleasant, now made my stomach churn. I could feel my pulse everywhere, in my neck, my wrists, my ears. Look at me, he said. I didn't. His fingers closed around my chin, forcing my face up. My world fractured. Every instinct screamed to fight, to scream, but my body froze, locked in place by fear, by years of being conditioned to be grateful, obedient, silent. I thought of my father, his chest rising and falling under white sheets. The machines, the debt, the reason I stayed quiet. Tears burned down my face. Please, I whispered, I'll do anything. Just let me go. He smiled. There it is, he said softly. Honesty. I tried to push him away. That's when he showed me. He stepped back, picked up a tablet from the table, and turned the screen toward me. Videos, me at the office, late nights, close angles, edited moments, cropped frames that looked like consent, like intimacy, then documents, forged signatures, financial trails, my name attached to numbers I had never seen before. Embezzlement, he said casually. Tax fraud. Enough to ruin your family. My knees buckled. If you run, he continued, if you scream, if you tell anyone, your father doesn't survive prison stress. Your mother doesn't survive shame. The room spun. This was the final weapon. Blackmail sharpened into a blade. I felt myself breaking, mind splintering, hope collapsing. And then, something shifted. In the middle of my tears, beneath the fear, beneath the humiliation, anger, small, hot, alive. If I die today, I realized, he wins. If I disappear, he erases me. If I obey, he owns me forever. I stopped crying. Alex noticed. Good, he said. You're learning. But he was wrong. I wasn't learning obedience. I was learning its survival. I wiped my face slowly and met his eyes. I need air, I said quietly. I can't breathe. He hesitated. Just for a second. That was all I needed. A second. Because predators rely on fear, not resistance. And I wasn't done yet. I learned how to smile without my eyes. It was a skill I never wanted, but survival teaches quickly. I lowered my gaze. I softened my voice. I nodded when Alex spoke, even when every word scraped my insides raw. Yes, I said. I understand, I said. You're right, I said. Inside I was screaming. This was the dangerous game, the performance. The part where you pretend the cage is comfortable so the door is left unlocked. Alex noticed the change immediately. He always did. "Good," he said one morning, circling behind my chair. "You finally accept reality." I forced myself not to flinch when his hand brushed my shoulder. My skin crawled, but I didn't move. I counted my breaths. I imagined a wall between his touch and my soul. This wasn't surrender. This was strategy. I became agreeable. I laughed at jokes that made my stomach twist. I listened as he talked about power, about people being resources, about how the world belonged to men who knew how to take it. "You're smarter than I thought," he told me one evening. "Most girls break faster." Girls. The word tasted bitter. I nodded anyway. At night, alone, I scrubbed my skin until it burned. I stood under the shower, letting the water drown my thoughts, whispering reminders to myself like prayers. Stay alive. Stay alert. Collect proof. Stay alive. Stay alert. Collect proof. The first recording almost got me caught. My phone trembled in my pocket as Alex spoke, his voice calm and confident, too confident. "I saved you," he said, pacing the room. "Without me, your family would be on the streets." I angled the phone slightly, heart pounding so loudly I was sure the microphone would pick it up. "Everything you have is because of me," he continued. "That gives me certain expectations." Footsteps, closer. My blood turned to ice. He turned suddenly. "What are you doing?" I dropped the phone, fumbling, pretending to adjust my bag. "Just taking notes." His eyes lingered on me, sharp and assessing. Seconds stretched like hours. Then he smiled. "Good girl," he said. I nearly vomited after he left, but the audio was there, clear, damning. The files were harder. Alex's laptop was always locked. Passwords changed frequently. He trusted no one, but he trusted his own arrogance. One night, he left his office to take a call. "I'll be back in 5, he said. My hands moved before my fear could stop them. The screen glowed. I plugged in a flash drive. The folder names made my chest tighten. Accounts. Surveillance, legal. The progress bar crawled. 20%. Footsteps in the hallway. My heart slammed against my ribs. 40%. The doorknob rattled. 70. I couldn't breathe. 95. The door opened. I yanked the drive free just as he stepped in. "What are you still doing here?" he asked. I forced a smile. "Waiting for you?" His eyes flicked to the desk. "To the laptop. Back to me." Then he smiled too. "That's loyalty," he said. My legs shook as I walked out. I had what I needed. Escape wasn't dramatic. It was quiet. Calculated. I waited for the moment he felt safest. The moment he believed I was fully under his control. Then I left. I didn't go home. I didn't call friends. I went straight to someone who couldn't be silenced, a journalist known for exposing corporate crimes. The room smelled like old paper and coffee. My hands wouldn't stop shaking as I placed the flash drive on the desk. "I have evidence," I said, "and I'm not the only one." The journalist didn't interrupt, didn't doubt. He listened. By the time I finished, my voice was hoarse, my chest aching, but for the first time in months, the air felt breathable. The police moved faster than I expected. Alex never saw it coming. The office was bright that day. Too bright. I was at my desk when the doors opened. Uniforms, badges, authority. Time slowed. Alex stepped out of his office, irritation already forming on his face, until he saw the handcuffs. "What is this?" he demanded. No one answered him. When they read the charges, harassment, blackmail, illegal surveillance, financial crimes, his face changed, not fear. Disbelief. His eyes found mine across the glass floor. For a moment, the cage reappeared between us. Then it shattered. "You," he hissed. I stood up. For the first time, I didn't lower my eyes. As they cuffed him, his confidence drained away, replaced by something small and desperate. "This isn't over," he said. I smiled. "It is for me." My father was sitting up when I visited him. Stronger, thinner, alive. Sunlight spilled through the hospital window, warm and forgiving. I sat beside him and took his hand, the same hand I once feared losing. "I need to tell you something," I said. The truth fell out in broken pieces. The job, the money, the price. He listened without interrupting. When I finished, tears filled his eyes, not of disappointment, but pain that mirrored mine. I would have rather died poor, he said softly, than see you suffer. I cried then, properly, freely. We are poor again, I said, laughing weakly through tears. He squeezed my hand. But we are free, and that was enough. If you're watching this and something feels familiar, listen to that feeling. Workplace harassment doesn't always look violent at first. Sometimes it wears a suit. Sometimes it calls itself help. Sometimes it hides behind favors and salaries and silence. Know this. Harassment is never your fault. Financial dependence is often used as a weapon. Digital evidence matters. Recordings, messages, emails can save lives. Laws exist to protect you, even when power tries to convince you otherwise. And most importantly, you are not alone. Speak, document, reach out. Survival is not weakness, it is resistance. I was a victim for 100 days, but I am a survivor for a lifetime.